Let's now look at a few additional terms that you may be familiar with, but you may have forgotten some of the more specific definitions and vocabulary terms. When we talk about a triangle, we're simply talking about a closed plane figure, so all of the angles come together, that has three sides, and these three sides form three interior angles. We can specify the type of triangle based on the lengths of the legs. If all sides are equal, then we're looking at an equilateral triangle. If two sides are equal, then we're looking at what's called an isosceles triangle. And in this case, you'll have two sides that are the same, and they're sometimes marked with a little symbol, little tick mark in there, and the angles opposite are going to be equal. So the angles across from them will be the equal angle. The third angle will measure something else. If you have no sides or angles of equal length, you'll call that a scalene triangle. A specific type of angle that we are going to encounter frequently is a right triangle. And a right triangle is just a triangle that has one angle equal to 90 degrees. We call the side opposite that right angle the hypotenuse. That's going to be the longest side. The other two sides are going to be called legs. We can talk about a quadrilateral, where we are dealing with four-sided figures. So the formal definition for a quadrilateral is a closed plane figure that has four sides, and these four sides form four interior angles. There are several special types of quadrilaterals. The first one is a parallelogram. You form a parallelogram when you have both pairs of opposite sides parallel to each other. In a parallelogram, you'll end up seeing that opposite sides are going to be equal and opposite angles are going to be equal. So you're looking at a shape that would look something like this, and side one and these two sides, the top and bottom, would be equal, and then the other two sides would be equal to each other but would likely be a different value. Angles across are going to be equal, and angles across on the other side are going to be equal. If you have a parallelogram with four equal sides, you would call that a rhombus. If your parallelogram has intersecting sides that are perpendicular or right angles, we're going to call that a rectangle. Typically, the longer side of a rectangle is called the length, and the shorter side is typically called the width. Though if there's a specific orientation for the rectangle, then that would overpower this rule. But that's a rule of thumb that you can apply. Now, if your rectangle has four equal sides, then we're dealing with a square. A square is actually a special type of rectangle. And then finally, we have a trapezoid. And a trapezoid is a quadrilateral where exactly two sides are parallel. So in a parallelogram, you had both sides were parallel, and a trapezoid, only one pair. And so you're looking at something that would look maybe something like that, where you do have one pair parallel. The sides that are parallel are going to be called bases. And then the last thing that we need to define is a circle. A circle is just a set of all of the points that are the same distance from some fixed point in the plane. So you have a circle, and they're all the points on that circle are actually the same distance from that center point. That center point is called the center, and the distance from the center to any point on the circle is going to be called a radius. So a radius would be that. And then if you were to find the distance between 2 points on the circle that goes through the center, that would be called the diameter. And a diameter is equal to 2 radii.